Mining can be a little ugly for a neighborhood, big buildings, stacks, and lots of cement. But Xstrata in Falconbridge is trying to change that. Instead of a cement wall to block the sounds of the industry from residents, the company has now put in a living wall. The CBC's Jennifer Norwell stopped by the wall to find out more about the new idea.
So you can see behind the burlap, which will be coming out in the spring, you can see the geotextile. My name's Chad Pearson. I'm the environmental superintendent here at the Xstrata smelter in Falconbridge. We are right behind the Hardy Street Park, and we have a noise barrier wall erected here at the back of the park between our site and the community, and it runs around the backside of the park and around to Lakeshore Street.
And what does it look like? Because it's not a conventional cement wall.
No, it isn't. We've gone with what we call a living wall, and it's a proven technique that's been used in Quebec and throughout Europe for the last 20 plus years. And it's basically it's made all out of natural materials, and it's a soil core. The cedar frame, the natural cedar frame, holds the soil together along with the geotextile. And as the willows root in the spring, they'll actually form the structural stability, compressing the wall together. It absorbs the sound and reflects the sound. And it's just a natural decision that we made to keep with our commitment to minimize any environmental impacts. So we used all natural materials in this case. It exceeds the Ministry of Environment's guidelines for noise attenuation, so it was an obvious choice for us versus a standard composite concrete wall, which isn't that aesthetically pleasing sometimes.
Yeah, let's talk about the differences between, your conventional cement block wall and something like this. How do they compare?
This totally has just as good or better sound attenuation than a composite wall. It will be pretty. Right now, it looks a little natural and brown, but once the springtime's come and the saplings have time to root and leaf, it's going to be a really pretty wall, and it'll just look like a natural willow hedge, basically.
Tell me about the willows.
Well, it's a special type of willow. It's called a basket willow, and they actually stay about the same size throughout the life of the wall, which is 30 plus years. And basically they stay the same diameter, and they will grow higher, so they'll grow higher than the current wall, and actually will provide some barrier past the current wall structure. But they're basically pretty simple. They're hardy willow species, so they can grow in northern Ontario, and they've been proven out in northern Quebec and northern Europe as well, so we're very confident they'll grow well here as well. It's been in place for over 20 years in some locations. They put them around large box stores in Quebec, also in Europe, and we've seen lots of examples. They use them in Toronto, and they're just really quite pretty in the summertime.
Is this the first time we've seen something like this in northern Ontario?
I believe it is. It's the first time here in northern Ontario, yes.
And what kind of a response have you had from people around the area to this idea that, you want to put up that noise barrier, but you don't want it to be ugly and you don't want it to be graffiti? What have they said to you about what they think?
Well, we were very proactive at the start. Before we even started, before we procured the type or decided the type, we actually brought our Falconbridge Citizens Committee into and we had a meeting and decided collaboratively of what we wanted for a noise barrier wall. At the end of the day, people were concerned about graffiti, a big thing. We did the specifications, and this wall was certainly met all the noise specifications. So as far as the noise attenuation aspect, it met all those requirements. The costs were about the same. It probably took a lot longer to erect than a composite wall. A composite wall would certainly have taken less time to erect, but at the end of the day, the costs were about the same. But it was more the aesthetics at the end of the day, and making sure that what the public saw was something pleasing to the eye.
And why is it important for Xstrata to have something that's pleasing? Because, it's not like people here aren't used to seeing a little bit of industry.
Well, I think the location, Falconbridge is a pretty little town, and we are at the back side of the Hardy Street Park, and we just wanted to fit in with the surroundings, and it was a pretty simple choice for us. We're very excited. We've had lots of comments from both our workforce and the community members, and people are excited to see what it's going to look like in the spring. It's very green, and actually actually consumes carbon dioxide as well. So it's there's a few benefits. It consumes greenhouse gases, so it reduces that as well. But it's really important to us to use natural products as best we can in our industry, and this was a good opportunity for us. Well, they'll be woven underneath. There's another supporting structure going across.